Greetings, CBC, and welcome to this week's Sunday warm-up, looking at the book of Proverbs this summer. This will be the second week. Still kind of trying to establish a little bit of some foundational understanding of the book as a whole. There's a number of ways we could, I think, look at some themes in Proverbs, but one of the kind of major themes, it might be even a question of what pathway are we walking on? Are we walking on the way of wisdom, which we really started to lay some groundwork on that last week. We'll do a little bit of review on that this Sunday. So are we walking the way of wisdom, or are we walking in the way of folly, or the way of fools? This word fool occurs more in the book of Proverbs by far than any other book in the entire Bible. In fact, it was interesting to note 71 times the word fool occurs in Proverbs, whereas 39 times in the entire New Testament. So the book of Proverbs has almost close to double the amount of usage of the word fool than the entire New Testament. So I think it's a real major part of the theme of this book. Are we walking in the way of wisdom, or are we walking in the way of fools? This word fool is a word study I did with a friend a few months ago that really started putting this idea of looking at Proverbs in my head for this summer. So a couple of ways you could approach preparation for this week. It would be very much worth your time to do a word study of the word fool in the entire book of Proverbs. It'd be 71 verses. If you use something like Bible Gateway, you can find all those references really quickly. We're going to kind of narrow our focus, obviously, for the time on Sunday. So I'll give you some thoughts that you want to look at in prep for what we're looking at Sunday. But we definitely want to be looking at the word fool. We're going to be considering what is the way of folly this week, as part of that foundational aspect of looking at the book of Proverbs. So what's the description? And it's vivid. It's some vivid descriptions of what it means to walk in the way, or what it looks like to walk in the way of folly. So because of the era in which I grew up in, let me get it out of my system a little bit, but I have to say it. I'll probably say it on Sunday a little bit, but Mr. T was right when he said, I pity the fool. I pity the fool. So we want to look at what is it that the Bible describes here in the book of Proverbs about the way of the fool. Now, our kind of springboard passage is this week's a little more of a thematic one, as we're looking at a word study on fool. We're going to begin in Proverbs 9. Proverbs 9 really lays out these calls of, or a look at the way of wisdom versus the way of folly. So we're going to start in Proverbs 9. And then we're going to go back to Proverbs 1, and we're going to see three references that have the word fool in Proverbs 1. So read Proverbs 9, read Proverbs 1 again, and compare the way of wisdom, the way of a fool, but find those three references there that talk about the way of the fool. And then we're going to look at a number of, what I want to do is kind of lean into one little section and just pull out every reference on Sunday to define what a fool is in the book of Proverbs. So read Proverbs 17, 18, and 19, and just pull out those references. And we're going to look at all the references on Sunday in those three chapters, Proverbs 17, 18, and 19, on the word fool. Note each of the descriptions of the word fool there. They're wonderful. I mean, very, very graphic kind of details about what the life of a fool looks like. And as we close, we just want to kind of consider that. And so I want to consider that on Sunday, but let's consider that together this week. I'll give you the questions I want to close with on Sunday. What path are we on? Are we on the path of wisdom? Are we on the path of a fool? As I look at my walk in my life, I want to really do an honest evaluation. What parts of my walk are foolish? What are there any areas in my life that I'm walking in the ways of a fool, as described in the book of Proverbs? How am I walking in the way of wisdom? Are there areas in which I'm desiring further growth to be on the path of wisdom? And a really difficult question is, am I willing and open to listen to the counsel of other brothers and sisters in the Lord, fatherly, grandmotherly figures, Christian figures in my life that would give me counsel on these pathways? If somebody would come and to give me counsel to say, listen, brother, listen, sister, you are walking in the way of a fool right now. How would I respond to that? And as we close, I'm not going to give you the answer on this now, but the last thing we're going to do on Sunday is there's only one pathway that matters. We can try really hard in our own efforts to walk in the way of wisdom, and in some ways we can start to make that about ourselves, and that kind of knowledge can start to puff up, and we can become very arrogant, and unfortunately, maybe unknowingly, even drift back into the pathway of the fool. There's only one path that matters, and I want to give you that on Sunday as we'll close. So that's it. The very simple version to in prep for this Sunday. Read Proverbs. Read Proverbs 1, read Proverbs 9, and read Proverbs 17, 18, and 19, pulling out those references to the word fool within it. God bless you this week as we study and as we look at these scriptures together. Let's be in prayer for one another and our time together on Sunday morning. God bless you. See you Sunday.